Dear Calgary, where do I begin? The flood, fire, hip replacement, house, and car break ins? Then COVID hit. I went from shaking the Prime Minister's hand to losing 95% of our customers in a 1 week span. What transpired next was a classic country song. I lost my business, my marriage, creative partner, city, and even the dog. But Calgary, let's rewind and go back to 2013 to see where the unraveling began for me. I walked out of my family home, knee deep in water, with my cat in my purse. The 100-year flood revealed the problem with doing good could possibly be a curse. This was the first time I felt the color of my skin, as white as it can be, really mattered in emergencies. As I instantly received free clothing, housing, food, and cold, hard cash. Meanwhile, the homeless shelter was underwater, and the city and government were fighting where to put the people. And not in my backyard syndrome kicked in real fast. You see, we don't treat each other the same, not ethically or equally, or even with a little empathy, even in emergencies. We began to volunteer at that same homeless shelter in 2014. We kept hearing the same thing, people screaming through the cracks of this system. I've taken this course, that certificate. I saw that person. I signed this form. But no one will take a chance on me. My heart broke. My entrepreneurial mind and white saviorism went into action. There must be something we can do to fill this employment gap and heal this system fraction. We founded a commercial laundry service tailored to the restaurant industry to give us some traction. We used that model to employ people without a home, providing a living wage, and hoping this support was enough to get them to the next stage. We got all the awards. The media came running. We really thought we were fixing the problem, but little did we know. It's more multi-layered than just helping people get their ID, bank accounts, and housing back. And Darren, one of our common good employees, was the first to show me how this trauma unfolds. He did everything the system told him. He worked our laundry, saved his own money. He moved into his very own home. He cooked his very first dinner on his own. He felt safe, confident, and he was smiling again. Then he went shopping to his new local grocery store. And some men there didn't think that Darren really fit in to what our society drills into our heads of what looks acceptable. They taunted him. They screamed so many ugly things, and then took him down to the ground, punching him and ripping his dignity from him, yet fucking again. Darren spiraled. I panicked. He disappeared. I unraveled. We re-traumatized him in his very own community. The system wins again. This is when I slowly began to unpack how white privilege and social washing drips all over me. Dear Calgary, now it's 2017. A simple interaction at the common good lunch table made me think. It happened between two of our employees, a man who experienced homelessness, abuse, and rejection, a woman who also lost her home, her country, and her language. Society would call one a homeless man and the other a refugee. Then the typical lunchroom conversation happened. The man asked her what she was eating. At one point, she struggled with a few English words, and he happily taught her the meaning. His eyes lit up as he was able to share something. And she discovered he had no family, and for her, family was everything. So she invited him over for family dinners, and I watched magic happening. This confirmed what I had saw on an eye-opening TED Talk. Johann Hari said, the opposite to addiction is not sobriety. The opposite to addiction is connection. It's community. We really thought we were fixing the poverty issue by paying a living wage, a transitional employment to get them back on their feet. Yet that wasn't enough. After months working with us, we started to see trauma patterns unravel. Alcoholism, drug addiction do not cause homelessness. It's merely another symptom of the deeper systematic issues we keep trying to fix. Homelessness caused by poverty, the trauma is unbelievably hard to bear. I dare you to try to live in a homeless shelter for just 1 week. You will be beat up, screamed at, ostracized. That trauma alone would be enough to drive you to drink, to shoot up, to just forget. And then you have to hear from society every day that you are not good enough. Sexual, physical, emotional, and spiritual abuse at the hands of the system who wants to muzzle us. The answer is sitting right in front of us: to live in community and get back to the basics of love. This is where healing begins, at the lunchroom and boardroom tables, on Zoom calls, and in circles of unlearning and learning and sharing. Community lives in each of us from beginning to end. Dear Calgary, we all come into this world with one thing in common. We don't choose our family, our social status, or how we'll be raised. If you were born into poverty, statistics already say you will never get out. It's not just a phase. Which means this system was always meant to be set up this way, to marginalize, polarize from poverty to the rich. During a global pandemic, someone's wealth grew by $79 billion, and he flew in a phallic rocket ship. Something must be wrong. This doesn't feel right. The problem with doing good showed me I was just another white band-aid who clearly misunderstood. Dear Calgary, here's what your excess taught me. We don't need food banks or homeless shelters, because access to food and housing is not the problem. We have more than enough. Canada is one of the biggest food wasters in the whole wide world. We live in ridiculous excess. And it's how we distribute our resources that is a complete mess. Remember that financial world crisis in 2008? $1 trillion bailout was instantly found, enough to wipe out poverty and homelessness for 68 years to come. But that wasn't the choice that we made. That bailout only helped the whitest some. We can no longer incentivize these big businesses for giving back, getting a tax write-off by cutting checks to charities to fix the very problems the big businesses created in the first place. It's ridiculously ironic, isn't it? Poverty, climate change, unethical supply chains, mental health, all suffering in the name of productivity. When we allow shareholders' profits to be king, there's no ethics involved when that cash register rings. 100 companies in the world are responsible for 71% of climate emissions. So the solutions actually are pretty simple. It's time to flip those boardroom and government tables. So, if there are problems with doing good, where do we begin? Do we even bother? Can we dream a new way into being and live in full color? What would happen if the Amazons of the world started to fix the problems they created and made it an inside job where they address their justice, equity, diversity, and inclusiveness from within? What would they look like if they had social impact built into their model, paying all their people well, not just the 1%? Childcare, health benefits, ethical supply chains, and caring about their global emissions footprint. Because if you really want to know what a business values, take a look at their balance sheet, and those CEOs will cower. Dear Calgary, so what lessons have you taught me? Let's go back to a day I will never forget. My birthday, March 15th, 2020. I was sick, rushed to emergency, first COVID shutdown, and simultaneously losing 95% of our restaurant customers left way more than a frown. I was now faced with laying off people already put to the margins. COVID's lessons were swift and harsh, teaching me that if I want to change the world, addressing my own trauma is where I must start. So as COVID started to take everything away, I sat in the messy middle, not able to fix, much to my own dismay. I had no choice but to slow down, root down, and rebuild my own community. I cried. I screamed. I thought about a dark fate for me. I had to do the things society shamed my own employees for, asking for help every step of the way. The SheEO community was the first on my journey. Every Zoom call, the question was the same. How can we help? How can we support? How can we be what you need? I was taken to my knees. I started asking these people who I loved and respected what they thought, what were they reading, what were their own reflections. I got quiet and started to reject the current systems from within and began to face the social justice reckoning that lives inside of each of us. I looked for the voices that are harder to find, the ones that keep the ones that the algorithms like to keep quiet. My path then crossed with an Indigenous woman very magically. Echo Alec, her ancestral name Kawea, and she began to show me the systems we need to lovingly deconstruct, and it starts internally. The first step is to get connected with the land in which we live, to create more than a land acknowledgement or a business introduction, to explain the depths of me, to root into the deeper meaning of me. So I'd like to share my Indigenous protocol with you in the hopes that it inspires you to start to explore your own. This is how we build community, by getting rooted in who we are, truth be told. I'm Hannah. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white, cisgendered, privileged woman, learning and practicing daily on decolonizing myself. I am the mom to Jolie and Brenna. I am the daughter of Marianne. And I am the granddaughter of Eunice and Phyllis. I was born along with family generations on the stolen lands of the Coast Salish territory on Turtle Island. And I want to honor the lands in which allowed me to stand here today, that supported my business, my family, Treaty 6 and 7, and now the beautiful lands of Jojea. And I'm very grateful to be here as an uninvited settler. I am a cycle breaker and a rule breaker in my family of origin, and I am here to listen, synthesize, and then amplify the conditions of this world to dream a new way into being. I stand for humanity and equity, and I am using my sacred rage to transform my pain into beauty and connection. So here are a few more people and businesses you may not know. They shifted my thinking through my heart, which is always the goal. They show me that there is another way to live beyond these current systems and structures. I invite you to go find the Tyson Yacaportas, the Rian Eislers, the Carol Ann Hiltons, the Eva Glamarises, the Vicky Saunders, the MJ Ryans, and the Echo Alex of your world. To people that stretch your dreams and make you slightly uncomfortable. Their reminders are that we have everything we need, and it starts within me. Dear Calgary, here's a heads up. There's another group that's emerging who can create big change. They hold 80% of the world's buying power. Let's set this stage. They are also about to inherit the largest wealth transfer the world has ever seen and are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurial innovators with incredible heart. Women and non binary people, I am referring to you. We have an opportunity to redistribute this wealth to step into our financial power because we have more than enough. It's just how we distribute these resources that show us how our society will really value from hour to hour. We can use our money for good by choosing which businesses we support. Negative waste businesses like Better Packaging and Not a Grocery, supporting ethical supply chains like Sister Sage and Made with Local, creating more inclusive, healthy communities like A-Linker and Magnus Mode. These businesses are truly leading the way, and those badass women and non-binary people will shake up these systems with their actions on display. Dear Calgary, you polarizing figure. Thank you for showing me how hard making good more common can really be. It's time to activate our resources and money to take a good look under the hood. We need to have honest conversations about how the problems we are really solving, this oddly seems to be my calling. So whatever you're passionate about, I put a call out, whether it's government policy, big business, your buying power, or what you can create innovations for all of us to benefit from and see. Please use your gifts to transform this world for you and for me. Thank you, Calgary, for the lessons from the bottom of my heart. This isn't the last you will hear from me. I am rising again, and this is just the start. Love, Hannah.